friends. So actually about a month and a half, and there's going to be a lot of things coming down the pike, so we've got to watch out for them. But anyway, we do have good news, because I hold in my hand about 109 pages of an indictment on Michael J. Madigan. So good things are happening. And here's what I especially like about this. Listed in this indictment, not by name, but are potential other elected officials on both sides of the party. And I think you would agree with me that, well, I'm a farmer, we're sitting here in farm country, and we know Illinois does well at growing corn, soybeans, and wheat. But unfortunately, I think one of the most bountiful commodities that we produce here in Illinois and our government is corruption. And I think it's time to put an end to that, because that is truly what's hindering us from being a great state. So I think it's coming. Last week, when I was in the Senate, Senator Cullerton was indicted. He didn't show up one day, and then we got the news, and then he stepped down, and Dr. Ezike stepped down on Tuesday. Here's some more interesting facts for you. She was scheduled to be confirmed by the Senate next week. So there's a whole lot of things that's happening. Tuesday, Mike Madigan gets indicted, or Wednesday, Mike Madigan, and then yesterday I get endorsed by GDIs, and the movement's growing, friends. So as a farmer, as Cindy and I were one of you, come from Clay County, 30 minutes south of Effingham. Guys, I wouldn't be doing something. This isn't just going out here running for office, giving it our best shot. I mean, just a little bit south of you here in the 55th Senate District, that's the most conservative Senate district in the state, possibly in the nation. I could be senator there for the next 10 years if I wanted to, because I do believe in term limits. I've term limited myself. I don't participate in the legislative pension. I don't participate in their insurance. I believe that this role should be a service to its people. Elected officials aren't meant to go to Springfield and create more laws. They're meant to help you navigate through what we have and stand up and represent you in times of trouble. That's the true meaning of representative. So it's time to return that, and as your governor, I can assure you that that's what I'll be doing, especially given the fact that I know how the House works. I know how the Senate works. A lot of people don't realize that in the Senate, we see the appropriations. We approve a lot of the appropriations to our colleges and to many of our agencies. I know firsthand where the waste is at. Speaking of waste, has anybody read the budget recently? 3,888 pages. It's a mess. It's written in Word form. There's not very many numbers in it. There's no income and expenses, and many of the spending and programs date back to the late 60s when income tax first started here in Illinois. It's time to bust this down to our level where we can understand it and where we can see it, and where, most importantly, we can afford it. So Cindy and I and our team, Cindy, my wife, of 35 years, we have, she's by my side, and I don't know how people would navigate government in this journey without that. So I sure wouldn't be here without it. We have 4 children. We have 11 grandchildren. We farm in Westville. Have a trucking company and an excavating business. I served 17 years on the North Clay School Board, 1995 to 2012. And then we went on to start a Christian school, Full Armor Christian Academy. We have over 360 students, preschool through high school right now, in 2 locations. And the city of Newton just called our daughter, so our 3 sons farm on the farm with us. Our daughter Abigail co-administers the school with Cindy, and we've got area communities calling us, mayors of communities calling us, telling us we need a branch of your school in our community. So awesome things are happening. We're blessed to live here in the greatest nation on earth. And I truly believe, even though it doesn't feel like it, that Illinois is indeed the greatest state in this nation. And in due time, we will truly restore it to where we will know it, where we won't desire to move out of state, and where I think our friends and our family will desire to come back. But The Democrats in Springfield for the last 3 years that I've served, the solutions seem to be to them, spend more money. If there's a problem, throw more money at it. And they believe that somehow that will magically fix the problem. And that money, that solution, well, that's in your pockets, they believe. So that's why life has become so constricted for us here in Illinois. The true way to build an economy and to support what we need is to build business, to become more business friendly. Illinois' work comp insurance is 2.5 times higher than any other state around us. And it's time that we create an environment to lure business and industry back here, because when that happens, we bring people back to the state of Illinois. People work, people make money, people spend that money on local business, and they pay taxes. That's the answers to our solution, and that's what Illinois is poised to offer from north to south. We've got everything that we need for that. As governor, I'll make sure that I'll root out corruption and ensure that those engaged in illegal activity are prosecuted and pay a steep price for violating public trust. We must enact meaningful corruption reforms in Springfield and hold every politician accountable. Sadly, the governor, the speaker, the Senate president have shown absolutely no willingness for any of these actions as Republicans, as we've tried to enact measures to hold people accountable. Thus far, we've been unsuccessful. If we truly want to restore integrity to the Illinois government, we must elect new leaders who will stand up and demand accountability, starting with Mike Madigan's hand-picked gubernatorial candidate, J.B. Pritzker. Friends, we're in a state that is full of immense resources and hardworking people. Our problems are the political elites who have sold us out. They've sold out working families and taxpayers. The corruption in Springfield, and of course a tyrant like J.B. Pritzker trying to control our lives and decimate our economy by pushing extreme national agendas that do not work for Illinois. Friends, we were once an economic powerhouse of the Midwest, and even you suffer over here in Vermilion County. I see it and I know it. But when we win and when we fire J.B. Pritzker, we will be again, because we will begin to communicate the needs of Illinois. I believe we will bring unity finally to the Republican Party, and I believe we'll bring unity to the state as we communicate truth across it. But before I get to some of our plans to restore Illinois, I want to address a few of the lies and the attacks that my opponents are pushing against me. I know you've seen this through some of your texts and emails, and you're scratching your heads and you're wondering what's going on. And many people, when we go into the communities, are saying, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, we'll deal with it. But right now, I think it's hilarious, and I think it's actually a good thing, because it's a sign that they are scared, and it's a sign that they are winning. Many polls have been taken recently, and they show us with a vast lead, and that is exactly what they're trying to chip away at. And unfortunately, in government, there is a mindset that if you say it many times, then it must be true, right? If you see it on the internet, you believe it. So friends, I assure you that this nonsense that they are propagating will come back around and bite them, because as a matter of fact, I've dealt with this before. In 2018, when I ran against my tax-hiking state representative, the exact same people came with the exact same message. This is nothing new to Cindy and I. We're winning because it's people like you all across this state, grassroots, who are showing up. You know, I suspect that Governor Pritzker has no idea who any of you are in the room right now, and I also suspect that our own party, the Republican establishment, doesn't know anything about us, because I'm sure, as a matter of fact, I know there's people in this room that have never voted. I'm satisfied there's probably people in this room that might have voted for Joe Biden 2 years ago, and probably people that voted for Governor Pritzker 4 years ago, but we're tired and we've had enough. I hear it everywhere we go. You know, it's interesting, because if you look across the state, every county has a bare minimum, of 30% of the eligible voters that are not voting. They're either not registered, or they simply don't show up to vote. And that is exactly how we turn the tide in Illinois, and that's exactly what I believe is happening. The truth is, as far as my opponents, Richard Irvin, who's the one sending out a lot of this nonsense, is a career Democrat who won't say where he stands on major issues like the Second Amendment, life, and more. But that's because he isn't a conservative. He's a liberal, and he is being handled by the exact same deceptive campaign team that helped bring us taxpayer-funded abortion and helped make Illinois a sanctuary state. I want you to think back to the fall of 27 when both of those items took place. Friends, we can't afford another 4 years of J.B. Pritzker. And even worse, we can't afford a much more liberal, less successful version of Rauner. We need change. We need bold and conservative leadership to turn Illinois around. And I am the only candidate, friends, that's been standing up from the beginning. I think you know this. I just want to remind you. I was the first and only person in May of 2020 to stand up and sue Governor Pritzker. And when the case was heard in its entirety in July 2nd of 2020, it was deemed that Governor Pritzker was illegal and unconstitutional in his actions. And friends, nothing's changed. All these school lawsuits that some of you may have participated in, that was simply a continuation of our victory 2 years ago. But you know what changed? Your boldness, your frustration. You got tired. Parents were tired of their kids being masked in schools. It's been the same. We've had that right to stand up against this since day one. And finally, we grew tired enough to continually stand up and do something about it. The elites can keep lying and spending their money to attack me, but I'm not in this race to be popular with the establishment or even to be part of a broken system. I'm in this race for you. I'm running to reform Springfield, to stand up, to fight for every forgotten person, and I simply won't back down. In his 2 years in the State House and the last year and a half in the Senate, I've proven that. We're ready to take on the Democrats and even the Republican establishment who have abandoned working families, taxpayers, and our hardworking Midwestern conservative values. I am proud to be a lifelong Republican and to have been standing with you and fighting for your freedoms since the beginning. I'll continue to stand for you and fight with you against all government mandates and for our individual liberties. When I'm elected, I've often been asked what we will do on day one. Well, day one's going to be an awesome day because that's the day that I truly get to working for all of Illinois, and that's the day that we begin to push the government agenda out of our lives and become free again. Here's a few things that we're going to do. We're going to demand a zero-based budget where every department makes a case for every penny that is spent. That's how we eliminate government waste. We'll always stand up and protect the right to life, free speech, and the Second Amendment. Getting rid of the FOID card will be a day one agenda. We'll work with the legislature to get our economy growing again by cutting taxes for working families, eliminating Pritzker's gas tax, reducing regulations, and making it easier to invest, to do business, and create good-paying jobs in Illinois again. You know, our small businesses here, especially in Vermilion County, the 55th Senate District south of here has the same problem that you do. We're a little too close to Indiana, so certain times of the year or through the week, people drive over to Indiana and you fill your gas tanks up. And when you do, you don't just come back with gas, but sometimes you eat out, sometimes you shop. Illinois economy is being devastated because of that. We'll improve schools across the state. We will promote school choice and begin to take back our children's education by removing Pritzker's mandates and extreme curriculums and returning power to the parents and local school boards. The authority of a governor. We've heard a lot about Illinois State Board of Education these past 2 years, haven't we? And they've wreaked havoc on our children. Do you know how those 7 members get their positions? The governor appoints them. Our woke universities are guided by administrators that are appointed by the governor. The FOID card, it's no accident that some of you may have waited for 2 years waiting for your renewals on your FOID card because the appointed director that comes from Governor Pritzker And of course, we all know the situation with the Illinois Department of Public Health with Dr. Ezike. I, as a legislator, my friends on the other side of the aisle have been asking for 2 years for the very proof that they said they had to shut businesses down, to force children to wear masks, and I'm telling you, we never received it. It's time that we focus education on preparing our children to chase their dreams and find success for their future. We will restore respect and integrity to law enforcement. We'll let the police know that they have a governor who has their back. It's time that we fought for safer communities for every Illinoisan. We'll focus on lifting up working people and families, not the elites or special interests. It's time to hold politicians accountable, start cleaning up Springfield, and remind them that they work for you. Friends, you've got a choice this year. You can pack it up and you can leave Illinois like so many are forced to do, or we can stand together and we can fight for change. Cindy and I have chosen to stay and fight for our home. We've built our family farm, our trucking business, our excavating company here. We've started Christian schools, and we're blessed to call Illinois our home and raise our family here. Illinois is where we want to watch our family grow up and thrive. Illinois is important to us, and the future of Illinois is important to our grandchildren. We're so grateful for the thousands of people that we've met on the campaign trail and the thousands more who have stepped up and volunteered to help us reform Springfield and restore Illinois. Now, friends, when you leave here today, I've got a challenge for you. Anybody here concerned about election integrity? All right. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Do we have any poll watchers or election judges here among us today? Got one? All right. Next week, if you don't hold an elected office, I'm asking you to go to your county clerk's office and to sign up to be a poll watcher or an election judge. An election judge must serve in the county that you live. A poll watcher can serve anywhere. We plan on busing hundreds of poll watchers to Cook County this year to help monitor elections. You will be educated and told and basically given the approval to be a poll watcher or an election judge by the clerk. But then throughout this summer, Illinois Conservative Union, Freedom Works, many groups are going to come through in the areas, and they're going to put on 3-hour seminars to teach us what to look out for and what to do if we suspect fraud. You remember when President Trump told us about 2 years ago that there's going to be fraud in the upcoming election? Well, I'm standing here before and tell you that the Republican National Committee and the Illinois Republican Party did absolutely nothing about that, and we're still complaining about it 2 years later. There is a foundational constitutional position of poll watcher and election judge, and that is the purpose, to monitor the elections and to do something about it if we see or suspect fraud. One thing that I've noticed, I've seen pictures as Cindy and I travel, and as we're up in the Cook County area a lot, and I've seen pictures of people in the polling days with maybe like a white t-shirt on it, and it'll say Republican written across it. And I've recently discovered what that was. You know, by law, by the Constitution, there has to be a Republican and a Democrat election judge at each precinct, right? Well, many times in Cook County, the Republicans don't show up for the job. So the sitting bench judge handpicks somebody and puts them into that position and basically says, you are going to serve as a Republican election judge. And many times in Cook County, that person will wear that t-shirt to signify that there really is a, in name only, Republican there. Now, if we're concerned about election fraud, which we should be, we have got to get involved and be part of the process, friends. Everything we need is there. I also challenge you to check in and serve as a check-in at the same time you're there and find out what positions are available to run for office. At a bare minimum, run for precinct committee person. Do we have any precinct committee people here today? All right, we got anybody else? Go talk to this gentleman over here and
got some petitions for him if you guys don't mind stopping by the table.
Hey, God bless you. Thank you. Well, that's one of the roles that a precinct committee person does. They go out and they educate their precinct, a small area. Again, it's a constitutional position. It's amazing. Run for office, 7 signatures is all you've got to fill out. And if you want to help be a process to rebuild the state party, which needs accomplished, 30 days after the primary, that opportunity comes up. And based on the weightedness of your precinct fields in your county will give you a little more clout for having a say for the rebuilding of our state party. So everything's there. And when we look at the Virginia win a few months ago, do you remember that? Well, that's what they touted. That was the success. 96+% of their precincts were filled with election judges and poll watchers. They were monitoring the process. And almost every position was filled by a conservative candidate. That's how they did that. And I just want to give you one more example as to why we will win, aside the fact that you're here, aside the fact that the grassroots movement is on our side. It's the simple fact that, let's go back to November 2020. You remember the progressive fair tax amendment that Governor Pritzker and the Democrats put out? They needed 60% of the people of Illinois to vote for it. Anytime you see a constitutional amendment, it has to have a 60% pass rate. Well, the interesting thing, as Governor Pritzker even put $55 million to promote this, is that almost the opposite happened. Almost 56% of the people in Illinois said no to that amendment. That is a Republican landslide victory. That took place in November of 2020. Have things gotten any better or worse since November of 2020? Friends, I think we've got an amazing chance coming up to change this state. So one more, as far as the importance of running for office, there are 118 state representative districts in Illinois. 73 of those districts, don't forget, we're in the super minority. That means there's more Democrats in the House and the Senate. I was elected in 2019. I came in with Governor Pritzker, and for the first time in Illinois history, in the super minority. That means we don't have a say. They control the process all the way through. So how do we get it back? 118 state representative districts in the state. 73 of those districts voted by majority. They voted that constitutional amendment down. So you would think that we should have elected 73 Republican representatives, right? We only elected 45. And the reason that we didn't elect more, because just about in all of the rest of those districts, there was no one running. That is what we cannot allow. So, friends, we're honored that you came out today. We believe wholeheartedly that we're going to be able to get this state under control. There's work to be done. We ask that you join our movement, BaileyForIllinois.com. If you're not already following us on Facebook, Darren Bailey for Governor, please do so. Sign up as a volunteer. Check our calendar out on our web page. You can invite us to events, and we'll be there. We're the hardest working every Sunday. Cindy and I are in a different church somewhere across the state. We're penetrating the city of Chicago. The people are coming to life up there. They're desiring something different. So I'll take a few questions. God bless you. Thank you so much for coming out. And let's get to work, friends. Let's fire J.B. Pritzker.
They don't know who you are, they don't do social network.
Got it.
I've got your yard sign in my yard, I'm the only one in Tilton right now, because I go
All right.
your shirt when I can, and I talk about you when I can, but they're like, they don't, their assemblies over, they want to see
Yes.
you on TV.
Okay. The question is, why aren't we running TV ads? Well, first and foremost, typically this time of year, don't forget the primary's coming up. Primary doesn't come up until June 28th. There have been multiple polls that have been conducted by us and others since November of last year. Those polls show us to have a commanding lead. So we believe that we're holding off on our resources. Number one, we've got the grassroots movement. We're counting on people like yourself, and God bless you. Thank you for your support to do this work. It's going to make us stronger. It's going to give us ownership in the process. But many of you too, so like I said, I told you that Jeannie Ives, I got her endorsement this week. Here several weeks ago, we received the endorsement and support of a major donor. When we sat down with that group after they came in and committed to us, we showed them our plan. We have a plan specifically on timing, and we're sticking to the plan right now. And they asked us kind of to show us your media plan, and we showed them and said, yeah, we're getting, we were setting on about $1 million at the time, and we have about a $5 million campaign budget. And we said, no, everything's still good. We're waiting for the cavalry to show up. And these people have sat down with us, and they said, well, the cavalry's here. So you guys are good. Friends, I'm telling you, have known, and you've probably seen those headlines, but we are sticking to our program. To your point, a lot of people, and when we do these polls and we have this commanding lead, to your point, 30-40% of Republicans out there still don't have a clue that there's even an election coming up. So that is where we need you to help and have these conversations and wake people up, and let's put them to work and get them involved. It is coming. Thank you. Yes?
Thank you for not participating in GARS, first of all, the General Assembly retirement system. Totally appreciate that. I've been doing a ton of research on that and driving the Wayne Willpower crazy, and then we've got another gentleman, he's got a bill in the house over there. I've got my parent and Brandover working on people to sign up with him on that. There's also another bill in the house that's led by Representative Villa, Senator from Chicago. Similar to that, I'm trying to work with the goal yesterday and trying to get them all work together. A lot of people don't, I think, understand that the General Assembly retirement system fund is Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
We need to vote that.
Right. To your point, so the GARS, General Assembly Retirement System. Now here's the amazing irony. We know that there's pension problems in Illinois. And I want to stand here and I want to tell you something. If you're the recipient or you have a family that's working right now for the state, if anybody tells you that Darren Bailey's trying to take your pension away, you tell them to call me. You get their number and I'll call them. I am the only state legislator, I am the only gubernatorial candidate who has been standing up and making noise. Because, friends, we're people of common sense. We could look at something and say, this isn't going to work. And when you're sitting here with a pension program, a funding ratio of about 30 to 40%, and it gets lower every year, well, that's the General Assembly. Yes. So then that's what I was getting at. So that's the irony. The state pension is about 30 to 40. The General Assembly, your people that we elect into office, it's funded at a rate of 17%. And for you out there that are working for the state, you'll work, what do you have to work now, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, to earn your pension? A state elected official only has to be elected for almost 8 years to receive their full retirement benefits. I mean, it's a sham. But I want you to know that for those of you who either have family or you've worked or you are working, I am trying diligently to fight for a final fix. Because I have yet to talk to one state employee that's come to me and says, leave it alone, everything's fine. Every one of them are state police, IDOT workers, I don't care who they are, every one of them are scared to death about the future of their retirement, and they should be. But if we get our heads together here in Illinois, we can fix this. Governor Pritzker has had billions of dollars of this federal COVID money come into our state, and he still continues to make the minimum payments. And every year, the debt continues to build. So no, I will thank you for bringing that up, and I appreciate that. But we have...
I did have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so my question at the end of that was two things. So we've got these bills going on in the House, hopefully down at home. Is there anything in the Senate? Because I haven't seen anything yet. Are you doing that, or could we expect that? And the second part of that is, if these pushes for that legislation fails, is there a possibility of perhaps a referendum by the people to get that on the ballot?
Well, there's a lot of ways to deal with that, and there's so there's just about anything that you can imagine exist in both houses. Unfortunately, Blaine's bill, Mike's bill, they're not going to go anywhere because remember the super minority thing. But by doing this, we message and we let the people know that we believe we're working towards this. And to your point with the Representative Villa, there are a lot of Democrats that, you know, when we talk to them one-on-one, they understand and they get it. It was Mike Madigan's power and money, and now it's Pritzker's power and money. When we get together, you can't figure out why they don't vote like they talk one-on-one. And that is governor, someone who will stand up and talk to the people of Illinois, all the people, and inform them of what some representatives or some senators are doing or what they are not doing. I think that's how not only we bring strong unity and strength to our party, but that's how we ultimately bring unity to our entire state, all of us, Chicago and the rest of our state. Because I beg people, develop relationships with your congressperson, with your state representative, with your senator, with your county board member, with your school board member, with your village board member. Start developing those relationships. Encourage them. Give them a call. Tell them, read the papers. Get engaged on what's taking place in local units of government. And when they do something right, encourage them. Tell them thank you. And when they mess up, call them out. Hold them accountable politely. And if they continue to mess up, get on the ballot, get them off it, get them out of seat. One more question, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll take some pictures. Yes, sir.
I realize when you're elected governor, you'll still be outvoted on a lot of things, but I'm wondering what kind of power will you have at turning things around? And here, I've got a few different instances that I'm thinking of. Number one, the restrictions have been put on law officers. I am an alderman in Georgetown also, and we have trouble finding police officers because everybody's afraid to step in now because their hands are getting tied. And then secondly, I wanted to ask you, what kind of power would you have over the 9/11 abortion thing? Can you get any of that erased back? I know you probably won't get it all, but I mean, would you have any structure there?
Okay.
And then one last thing is the sanctuary state thing. Can we get that thing erased from Illinois? I don't know what kind of power you have because you're kind of a lone wolf at that.
Well, okay, so as to serving as your next governor, I want to back up and I want you just to consider all the governors of the past. Just think about all the governors of the past. And you tell me one governor in your memory that you had complete confidence in. And maybe there were some governors, like Jim Edgar, that we thought at the time we had confidence in, but now we forward and we see that, oh my, he started the pension rate. He started this problem. There's nobody that I can look at and say, that person helped Illinois. And 90% of that's through communication, because I'm going to back up as recently as Governor Ramner. Talk the talk. We thought he was a Republican, but we elected him and we found out, number one, he wasn't. Number two, day one, he went to war against Madigan and the Union. Well, sorry, but Illinois is a Democrat Union state, so everything just stopped. No more. He was not able to communicate. And let's take a look at Governor Pritzker. I'll give it to you. He's a pretty amazing communicator. Everybody's been so scared to death they didn't open their businesses. They closed their schools. They closed their churches. They stayed in, and fear, fear, fear. That's all he's done for the last 2 years. And I think that's probably what's elevated us to this position is our communication. The fact that through our Facebook post, it's Cindy's wonderful idea that in April of 2020, when all this kind of started to cave in, she was the one that said, why don't we do, we're farmers, so April showers bring May flowers. Why don't we do why don't you do a morning live at 8 o'clock every morning and expel some hope? Because a lot of businesses were being shut down. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, it wasn't 2 weeks, was it? We're just coming on 2 years now, finally, and it's ending. So we did that, and I got on every morning and shared just a few little tidbits of government, and then I shared a devotion, and I shared prayer and friends. We've got over 100,000 followers now on Facebook because of that. That's where the grassroots movement was built from. So communication. here's the reality. In the House, we pick up 4 seats in the House. We end the supermajority. So that allows me to essentially veto a bill, and it can't be overridden. But I'm going to stand here and tell you today that I truly believe that we are going to be able to take the majority in the House. It is amazing how the Democrat Party remapped the state of Illinois that we were so fearful of. And from everything that I am seeing, by looking at these candidates, and Cindy and I are in these areas, I truly believe that we're going to take the majority back in the House. We consider the Senate. It's going to be a little tougher, but I think at bare minimum we can potentially do away, get rid of the supermajority status. So with that in mind comes the communication factor, because the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, in the House and in the Senate, they do have respect for me because I will stand up and punch hard against their bills, but I show respect to the person. And just the other day, coming out of Senate last week when I spoke against a bill, Senator Lightford, and she's kind of the Senate majority leader, and you don't ever go against her. And my first, when I was in session last year for the very first time, I stood up and spoke against one of her bills, and Republican leadership came down and said, hey, you don't talk about her bad about her bills because she won't let any of yours out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a bad bill, we're gonna talk about it. We're walking outside and she catches up to me, and of course she didn't have her mask on, they never do. And she looks down at my boots and she says, I like those boots. And we stood for 15 minutes and talked about it, and so I just little silly stuff. I've got their respect. So to be able to stand up and communicate to her constituents, people are tired, friends. Communication, that's how we do this. Sanctuary City and our police officers, we have got to get rid and repeal these egregious law enforcement bills, period. Grayville, Illinois, the furthest south, the east village in my district, has no police officers right now. They had 4 and they've left. They've retired early, quit, left the state. So that is a problem. Governor Pritzker has taught us how to use the rules process to chip away at some of this stuff. It will take probably legislation to roll over a lot of the law enforcement bills. Taxpayer-funded abortion, that will go on day one. That can go on day one. We'll stop paying for the 50,000 abortions in the state of Illinois, and 10,000 of those being out-of-state abortions coming in, and it's only going to grow. It's going to be a little more difficult for the full-term abortion bill, because a year ago it was codified into law that an abortion is now a medical procedure. So even if Roe versus Wade were overturned today, we've still got a fight on our hands. But I want to be able to empower churches and civic groups to potentially step in and make the difference. I believe that we can do this. Maybe Roe versus Wade, maybe ending abortion isn't the answer. Maybe we, the people, stepping up again and being part of the process to help where we need to help at is. The sanctuary city, the same thing. That can be challenged and taken care of a little bit with the rules process as well. All of those issues are on front and center on our agenda to take care of. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. You got other questions one-on-one, we'll stand up here and chat with you for a little bit before we take off. So God bless you guys. Thank you.